Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome inside the studio here at Woodbine Mohawk Park. Getting ready to kickstart the long holiday weekend here. A beautiful night weather-wise. A little bit of break in the heat wave that we've had recently. I would say comfortable. Going to be a nice night for racing. And what a nice way to kick things off tonight as we welcome you to a Friday night 10-pack featuring some rookies that we're going to get a good up-close look at here tonight. Greg Blanchard, Randy Waples at the desk. Great to be with you tonight, Randy. Took me a little while to get here tonight, about 2.5 hours. Ooh. It was busy on the 401 getting here, so hopefully a sign that a lot of people were anxious to get here.
I was going to ask you, did you walk?
See the rookies. No, I didn't. I actually thought I was finally through the traffic. I got off the exit 312 here, and it took me probably another 10 minutes just to turn left.
Wow.
Yeah,
unreal,
incredible traffic in the area. So
yeah, I wonder why that would be.
There was a little bit of construction. There was a breakdown, but nothing great. Just a lot of vehicles on the road, and I saw a lot of them heading this way too. So that's a good sign.
No, there
not
you go.
all, but a lot. And yeah, we're excited tonight, Randy. I know we've been here covering the baby races over the last 3 weekends. And there have been some really head-turning performances in the morning. It's been fun to watch them. Now to get to see them in pari-mutuel action tonight. Big matchup I'm looking forward to, even though it's early on. A horse called No Wait List, son of Cattle Wash, and a horse called Dad from the Ian Moore stable, which looks like he's loaded for bear this year in the 2-year-old division.
He does, but I mean, every single division, in my opinion, is stacked. You can go so many different ways. Tonight in these divisions. Dad, I'm glad you brought him up. He's going to definitely be one of my plays in there. But like I said, I in any of those 2-year-old races tonight there, I can see a person being able to go, 3, 4, maybe even 5 wide in those races, depending on, what does it for you, because we got some real nice ones. Those ones are going to headline, no doubt about it. They've, put up some big miles in the morning. We got the one of, is that the one, the one of Tyler Moore's that's coming in here that went in 53?
No Wait List, yeah.
Yeah, so there's some big miles been put up in the mornings, you know what I mean? But, Greg, sometimes I've always been a believer there that, sometimes it's better to kind of save those big miles. So sometimes, those guys, there's a few guys in the morning that hide them. And now they're going to come out tonight racing for money, and they might be a couple of surprises as well. So I'm with you. I'm just excited. The baby time is here. Let's see what they can do at night.
I agree. And you're right. I think some others that are going to step up and show us something more than they did in the morning. But those winners, I can tell you, they were ultra impressive, but they both look like they did it comfortably too. So something's got to give here tonight. Just going to be fun to watch them. Poppy Rob Hanover colt Dad against the Cattle Wash colt No Wait List, and some other really nice colts that are just coming out of the woodwork here. It's that time of year, no question. In terms of what we could maybe expect and how the races are going to play tonight, we should look back at last night and get a look at, see what the trends were, if any, last night.
I wasn't here last night. I did watch them, but it's more or less come to the same there, Greg. I mean, once in a while you'll see maybe a 5th or a 6th here, but pretty well every night it's the same sort of situation. You really do not want to be any further back than 4th, to have a real direct shot at them at the head of the lane. And I honestly, me and Rawlis have talked about it, me and Chad have talked about it before, and I honestly do believe the biggest reason is because this track is just so fast that the ones that are generating the speed aren't coming back to the ones that are chasing the speed. So those ones that are chasing the speed, even though they're pacing ridiculously big back halves, they're just not able to kind of get there coming from out of it because the track is just ridiculously fast right now.
Maybe a combination of that and a combination of the breed today and how far they can carry their speed.
I was telling John there the one time that I don't know if you've seen it too there, but I read an interview one time with Ray Remen, obviously one of the great New Jersey horsemen of all time, and he said that when the Meadowlands first opened, you could not win a race in front at the Meadowlands. It just wasn't going to happen.
Right.
If you went to the front, you were going to get beat. Now, he said it's almost like it's completely changed, you know what I mean? Now, even on a big track like the Meadowlands, you got to be up close to the front end. So I agree. The breed's changed, the driving has changed, the styles have changed, so you really have to change with it and get close. Get up there, get close.
Yeah, you're right. We remember the old Meadowland Shuffle. You just don't see that now, and you have to be up usually mid-pack or closer when you're turning for home to give yourself a realistic shot. So keep that in mind tonight. A lightning fast track and spin that way the last couple of weeks. I mean, it's always fast at this time of year, but it's been exceptional in recent nights. Let's dive into tonight's race program. Randy, race number 1 will kick things off tonight, including that early pick 5 wager with the $75,000 guaranteed pool. 3-year-old fillies, a mix. Fillies that have been racing in the Grassroots and the Prospect Series. Nice competitive field in the opener.
This is a really, really good bunch. And I just wanted to say, too, I lost my notes from last week. And when I did my picks, then I found my notes. So a couple of them, maybe they're not exactly the way that I wanted it, but when I went back through it, I was kind of happy with the way it was. So I'm standing pat on this, but it's just some of them are a little bit weird. Like in this first race here, I have the 2-horse. To me, was a locked-in effort, huge on the end of it. Darlene's Angel, the 4-horse, again, huge effort for this one. I classified this one as very good. Forever After All, also very good and hasn't been beaten 3 starts, and I'm not using any of those horses on top. I'm going to go back to the way basically that I had it last week, and that's with Macapella Sealster up on top. Now, very interesting kind of a race last week there. She went to the front. The one that I liked second best, Lady Cafe Olay, tried to make a remove. It didn't work out, and then my top 2 picks just went tooth and nail at each other all the way to the head of the lane and end up finishing 4th and 3rd. I'm going to go right back to Macapella Sealster. I really, truly believe that there's about this much separating her from being a gold horse. So I'm going to put her right back on there, even with the big stretch out in last week. Lady Cafe Olay, I'm going to move her down in for 3rd. But the replay that I'm going to show is the 5-horse Manhattan Mayhem, because I think that this would be remiss if I didn't show it. So this is the actual race. You can see Macapella Sealster up on top. Cafe Olay first over. They just go wham at each other. Now McClure's way back here with Manhattan Mayhem, and this is only going to be her 2nd start back. And again, I just think it would be remiss if I didn't bring this up. My 2 picks are done at this point. Jody shakes loose with a nice trip for Promising Moment, but look at Bobby coming, really the livest one on the end of it there. So my numbers in here, I'm going to go back to Macapella Sealster. I'm putting Forever After All, this one that hasn't been beat, in for 2nd. In for 3rd is going to be Lady Cafe Olay, and in for 5th is going to be Manhattan Mayhem, but not using Darlene's Angel, not using Britta's Best Bet, and not using Promising Moment that won this class last week, who's also going to be 2nd start Lasix, which is my move. But I really think that a lot of this race that went on last week was what was generated up in front. They ended up getting down to the half in 54. They come a back half in 56 and change, 57. About a 12 or 13 length difference in both halves. So I think that what happened early generated the winning horses, and maybe even the way that Manhattan Mayhem raced on the end of it. But I'm going to go back to that way again with Macapella Sealster. Sorry for the long one, Greg.
No problem at all. And, she was a filly that last year chased Chantilly.
Yes.
Had, unfortunately, to do that, put together a really nice season despite that. And then this year, right into those deep waters again, the first couple of starts. And it looked like she maybe just didn't get off on the right foot, so probably needed that last race. What would that do you think, for her psyche, getting down to the Grassroots division and being a lot more competitive?
Yeah, well, number 1, it's going to help her confidence. Number 2, I love sometimes when a horse isn't maybe putting out the way that they should. Somebody send them down the road, make them tired, go back to the way that you were racing them, and I find that they usually come up with a much better effort. start. So I think that the down the road could really hurt. The only thing that maybe won't hurt or like, you know, is going to work against her is, you know, she got tired. She got right down to the end of it, you know. So, I mean, I'm hoping that there's not going to be some kind of a bounce. But I still believe in my heart of hearts, no matter how good the rest of these horses are racing, that she is the deepest filly in this race.
All right, a nice group of 3-year-old filly pacers to kick off the program tonight. We're going to switch gears, race number 2, Tompkins gears, in fact. Our first division of that tonight as that open stake continues. The boys in action tonight, both trotters and pacers and rookies here in the spotlight. This is a really intriguing group. There's one horse that's had a pari-mutuel start. There's several horses that have had a couple of qualifiers in preparation. One that has just a single, though, and his name, I should say, is Captain Micah, a son of Captain Corey, a sire that's been getting some early attention this season with his rookies and got your attention in that qualifying effort.
Yeah, you know, I think Tyler Jones is picking himself up a pretty live drive in here. Gino Toscani qualified this guy himself. Going to hand the lines over to Mr. Jones tonight. So we got two this is a really nice bunch, and I love the fact that we have the Tompkins gears now, Greg, because, you know, number one, it's a Grand Circuit stake, and you always love Grand Circuit being in town. But the other thing is we get to see these young horses, you know, right out of the gun racing for pretty substantial money. This one going to go for $47,000. So Captain Mika. Gino Toscani, the owner of this one, trainer Desiree Jones, going to go with this guy himself. And like Greg said, these Captain Corey, there's a lot of buzz about the Captain Corys right now. You know, a little bit sideways, but I don't see it as being on a line. I just think that that's just the way that he's choosing to trot right now. Very little equipment on him. What I would consider to be almost a natural kind of a gated. And what you got to like about this is at all points, he just keeps moving away from the field, more or less under a Gino hand drive to boot. So I got him in for second, Greg.
27-4, baby trotter, first time out, and did it pretty effortlessly. The mare's been a good producer as well. She's had 4 winners, including a good one that's been on the rise named Dearly Beloved, a star in the Pennsylvania Sire Stakes and a recent winner in 53 and 2. Bo Knight's had 2 qualifiers. Will be leaving from post 7 this time around. Runner-up in the debut effort and then knocked big time off in the most recent.
Yeah, you know, something we might be looking at a bit of a resurgence for wheeling and dealing. What with Richie Rich, what he's doing in the 3-year-old ranks for the Ratchfords, you know, he's racing so well right now. And this guy, also by wheeling and dealing, and boy, was he ever throwing them down good. Really liked the way that he was going, liked the way that Trevor Henry was moving on the end of it with his as well. But at no point was James threatened at all. I think he's only going to be able to come back here and come up with an even better effort. Now, Captain Mika, you know, maybe a couple of things that he may have going for him. In my time, usually when you got towards the end of the baby race day, they would kind of back away from the water a little bit there. It's just the kind of the way that it was. So on a sunny day like that, with Captain Mika racing in race 12 or 13, Bo Knight racing in race 8, I would say the track would have been a little bit quicker for Bo Knight as opposed to Captain Mika. But to the same effect, I think that Bo Knight's in a better situation tonight with the outside wing, got the 7-hole, going to get a good, you know, run at the gate. The momentum of the wings are not going to bother him. The rail can be tricky. So, you know, he did have no issues from the 2-hole last week. He looks like he's a clean-gated trotter, but just, you know, with Captain Mika, the rail can be a little bit tricky with green trotters. 2
other colts as well that had 2 qualifiers stepped up with winning efforts in the second time out. Those being Timel Starstruck, a green shoe from the Greg McNair stable, Southwind Chester for Steve Bossent's a good trot man that you know well.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I mean, here's another one there. You know, Steve Bossent's, you know, been kind of quiet for the last couple of years, but boy, does he ever have a nice 3-year-old trotting colt out there now. He's the winner of the last gold. PL Spencer, I think his name
That's
is.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you know, Bossent's doesn't need me to, you know, beef up his resume. He brings a pretty big one on his own.
So good matchup. Race number 2, first Tompkins Gears division for the 2-year-old colt and gelding trotters. A 2-year-old overnight race in race number 3 as we flip ahead to that. Good looking field of 7. These are 2-year-old fillies. And I don't know, Randy, if you were a big tennis fan or not, if this is why you want to focus on this one, but Venus and Serena, the one you want to touch on.
I am actually a big tennis fan. Used to be, you know. I mean, I don't know any of them anymore.
And the Williams sisters, they were okay.
They were okay. Yeah, no doubt about that. Venus and Serena. Brisk Seelster also, we're going to talk a bit about her, but Venus and Serena, this is the way that I'm going to go. I love the job that Trevor did with this one. I think that he really hit it in the morning qualifier. You can see last quarter in 26-1, but way out of it, you know, just really, really well done. And I think that we're seeing the same thing here, you know, maybe a little bit out of position if you're looking to maybe take this race down, but if you're looking to teach a horse how to be a good horse and enjoy the racing, gold star goes to Mr. Henry. This one up top there was for Scotty Young, racing very, very well. This is going to be a bet for Jeff Williams. But Venus and Serena, I was very, very impressed and loved the way that Trevor had this one snuffed on the end of it. You know, I think there was a lot more that we could have seen, but he elected to go that way. One quick thing, though, I would like to talk about. We're not going to look at the replay of the 5-horse Brisk Seelster, but boy, first crop Century Farah, and I mean, this one really impressed me in her very first lifetime start. Had the 6-hole, made a big move out of there, got to the front, made another move around the last turn, made front, and got tracked down and picked off on the end of it by TH Check Me Out, who I don't think has been beat yet. TH Check Me Out. So to me, it's not that Brisk Seelster raced bad, it's just that TH Check Me Out right now, she's just awful good. So I would say Brisk Seelster, if I was going to grade that effort, I'd give her a solid A to, you know, maybe even aiming towards an A+. I think that her, the 5 and the 6 both raced incredibly well in their last starts.
Yeah, key race for sure. TH Check Me Out, you talked about her 52-3 national seasons record last night.
And the way she's doing it.
Yeah, very impressive, no question. So Brisk Seelster, and yeah, quick thought on what we've seen so far. A limited but a good-looking first crop of Century Farah, the ones that we've seen. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do you drive?
No.
So you didn't drive? Okay.
No,
I thought
no.
you maybe did at some point.
No. The last good one I drove for Doc would have been State Treasure.
Okay.
That would have been it,
but,
yeah.
But there's a real solid racehorse, raced at the top level, made $1.5 million, Breeders' Crown winner. Maybe got a little bit overlooked in that first crop, right? A limited first crop, but I think's quickly getting some attention based on the youngsters we've seen. A couple of good-looking ones there. Mick Bubbles is the only winner coming in tonight. 2 qualifiers for her, the John Pentland trainee, daughter of McWicked. She was a winner last time out, too.
Yeah, you know, racing good, and you know, Bobby McClure. It seems like him and John Pentland, they always have this great relationship together, and are able to turn out really, really nice horses. So definitely one to watch. This daughter of McWicked.
Next, we're going to swing on over to race number 5 tonight. Field of 9 here. Fillies and mares, mid-level condition types, non-winners of 9,000 in the last 5. Noting the substantial equipment change for 3, RD's money in there. The hobbles come in a couple of inches. Maybe just a quick thought on that. You know, from your experience, what would precipitate that, what you'd be hoping to see tonight?
Well, I mean, you would have to think between her making the miscues and the hobbles coming up 2 inches that there's maybe a little bit of a lameness issue going on, soreness issue, I guess I would call it. You know, sometimes if they're sore, they're not pacing right into those hobbles, so they're actually longer than they should be. Whereas, when she was winning, the 56.5 was okay, but obviously, you know, it's took its toll a little bit on her, these fast miles. So looks like now they're just going to try to, you know, get some clean lines into her. I put her down in on the bottom. I think that they're just probably going to go for, you know, get some clean lines, get that confidence going back with her. And then when we see the hobbles start to kind of come back out again, that might be the time to jump on her.
Let's take a look back at a replay from June 20th. You want to focus in on Gentrify, the daughter of Always Be Mickey, who was making the first start at this classification level and really acquitted herself pretty well. Yeah,
and first time in recent memory, too, like in the last little while anyway, that James has drove her. So, you know, you always kind of take a second look at them when James is driving them, and he got along really, really well with this girl. He's coming back with her, so I'm going to take a chance, put her up on top there. I thought that this was a really, really big effort. Back half in 53, big, huge last 3 quarters. And again, really one of the only ones that was coming hard still on the end of it there. So again, I think that James kind of, maybe she was a little bit out of position, not horribly, but I think that she needed that start as well. And the fact that he gets to come right back to her, that's a big angle of mine. It's one thing if a horse races good for a driver, and then the next week that driver picks against them, the fresh driver, maybe he's not going to know how good that horse was, but she had good wheels on the end of it. James got along good with her. James comes back again, so he's going to know just how deep she was last week.
How about a filly like Wicked and Single, 3-year-old, taking on the older, more seasoned rivals here, but with her resume, you have to think she's going to stack up.
I think so, but my biggest thing is how hard are they going to want to race her? You got Golds coming up. Maybe they're even going to elect to go grassroots. At some point, I think there might be a little bit of a separation. Chantilly's going to separate a lot of horses. Some people are just going to say, that's it. I'm not going to race against her. If she keeps doing what she's doing, and then they will move down into the grassroots, so maybe we'll see her there at one point. I love when they race her accordingly because she has a huge move on the end of it, but with the Golds coming up, the fact that she's got the outside, I just don't know how tough they're going to want to be, so I'm going to take a wait and see on her and against some of these older horses, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they got away from Chantilly last time, scratch sick again. We should just touch on that. An article coming out today, Melissa Keith chatted with Nick Gallucci. It sounds like she's getting closer to being back, and they're just being very precautionary with her.
That's the whole thing, though. How can you not?
Yeah.
You just can't. There's a lot resting on what she's going to do, and you want to keep her healthy for the rest of her life, not just in the next month or so. You want to make sure that everything is good to go so that she has a good life.
For sure. All right, let's switch gears again back to the 2-year-olds. So this time the Pacing Colts, another division of the Tompkin Gears. Nice purse here, almost $64,000 over in race number 6. 8 of them to face the starting gate, and a bit of an early season matchup, at least on paper, based on what they did in the qualifiers. I'm sure others will have something to say about it. But Dad, post 5 here for Dr. Ian Moore, 7 no wait list for son Tyler Moore, who trains, and Travis Henry scheduled to drive here. That's a showdown that we anticipate, and I mean, of the two, are you able to separate what they did in these qualifiers?
Not really. I'm going to go my way. But before I talk about it, you tell me, what impressed you so much about these two horses?
Well, they did it in different ways. We're getting a look at Dad. First of all, I note the physical specimen that we're looking at. Look at the size of this colt and the power that he possesses. And he did it from off the pace here. And I mean, a half in a minute and 3. So he came first over, and probably a bit of a surprise that the horse on the lead really hooked up with him in the third quarter tilt. They rolled that third quarter, and then look at him draw off under no urging in 55-2. I mean, that's eye-catching. But in a totally different way than the other colt we're going to get a look at.
Right. I agree with you. What really struck me on this one, where I'm going to go to Dad on top, is the throwdown between Louis and Dougie coming out of that turn. They were flying.
You don't expect that in a baby race qualifier.
You don't. And the expression on both of their faces, like they were going for it. Louis, Dougie, they were going for it. And Louis' horse just looked like he was in a different postal code zone than what Dougie's is. Dougie's, raced very good, but there was just no answers for Dad. So Dad's the way that I'm going to go. Now let's take a look at no wait list. And again, tell me what you thought here.
Well, at this time, this was the fastest mile by a baby in Canada, and it came in the qualifier. It lasted only 1 race, we should mention. Quick Away, the very next race, went a little bit faster, and then it's gone on to win, of course, in New York Sire Stakes action. So yeah, very different approach here. Got to the lead and controlled the fractions, and then just a little bit of mild urging here, and he will kick on. And that 27 seconds on the end, Louis there, after just a couple of little tip taps to keep his attention, the colt drew off again. A little bit smaller maybe than Dad, but beautifully gated, and handled so professionally, in my opinion.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, light-handed Louis, he's, just an amazing. So he's going to pick up Travis Henry tonight. That's basically what separated it for me, Greg. Travis is basically coming in here cold on no wait list. So, he hasn't quite had the ability to sit behind him yet. Whereas James, who's also going to be coming in cold on dad, just does a lot more driving on this circuit, you know what I mean? Kind of like, on the simple boiling down to it, I ended up going with dad up on top. Now, that being said, there one other thing, just where I always talk about, looking at other horses too. As much as I was impressed with this, with no wait list, love the way that he qualified, the whole deal. I'm not 100% sure if I wasn't more impressed with the one that Ian Moore was driving in there that finished third. His name is Bojangles.
And then he came back.
Yeah, but this race here, that was impressive.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say out there, there's no way to get catch drives, Doc Moore. You cannot have those horses out of position like that. How can you win from being way back there? But very well done.
Yeah, so we focused on two that were ultra impressive. We should say there's two others in the field that won both of their qualifiers in preparation for this. Till the Cows Come Home for Team Jameson. Je ne sais quoi, another one from the Blake McIntosh barn that has looked good. And another winner as well. Stonebridge Bluff, I should say, runner-up finisher in that most recent effort. Good runner-up efforts in recent tries. So that's a great tilt. Tompkins Gears, 2-year-old Colt Pacers. Very rarely does a first start for a group of rookies garner so much anticipation as that one tonight.
Absolutely. And another thing too, where a person maybe want to lean a little bit more towards dad, James McDonald qualified LD's Hunter for Tony Beaton, and both miles were good ones, and he elects to not go back to him but go to a colt that he's never driven before, only raced against. That to me tells me that James has also had an eye on dad with Doc Moore and Louis qualifying him, and it's an opportunity, and I think James can run with it.
So that's race 6. Let's flip over to race number 7 next. Another group of fillies and mares, non-winners of 2 for $35,750 lifetime. There is a scratch of the 5 in there, bringing us down to a 9-horse field. And All My Wishes, your post 2 starter, ultra consistent. It feels to me like she's taken a nice little step forward here, this daughter of McWicked. Last year, 9 starts, got to the winner's circle 1 time. This year, facing Grassroots Company a couple of times. 2 wins, hasn't missed the board in her 4. So do you feel like this is one that's, taken an early step up in her development? Yeah,
and, last week, her last start, I guess you'd put it there, just didn't work her way. James got himself into a bad spot, or she got James into a bad spot. However you want to look at it, they're going to be way back here, and you can see where Dougie is. It's just going to be too much ground for her to make up. But boy, oh boy, she tries to reel the Win Sun Charlotte back in. And Louis sitting third with the eventual winner. She's going to come off the back, show good wheels, but watch this move here by James and All My Wishes. Talk about coming from the clouds. Again, this is a nice filly of Breathers that Louis is going to win with. She is going to get the job done. But again, look at the way that this one's powering on the outside. And I think at one point he even Louis looks over and kind of gives her a little bit of a start up again, simply because she was just coming so fast. So really, really easy kind of a trip for her in her last. I think that James is going to be coming out of there guns a-blazing. She's going to be in a much better position tonight. So All My Wishes, she's going to be my all-in tonight, Greg.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I remember watching that race, and it was nice to get another look back at it to, again, recall how far back she was and what she overcame there.
And she was the betting down favorite. She was 35 cents or something. So it's not often that you see that happen. It was just the way that the race played out. He could never get her back out into the flow until it was too late.
From a driver's perspective, when that happens one week, then the next week, that's got to stick in your mind, and you're going to want to make sure that doesn't happen again. It doesn't happen again, and the simple fact is, you don't want to look bad 2 weeks in a row.
kind of want to redeem yourself, you know.
For sure. Couple of my favorite names in here, and nice mares too. Dirty Diana, Barb Leahy. Dirty Diana barbecue sauce. if you like good barbecue sauce, just a heads up on that. Let's take a look at one more race that we want to get a couple of replays on. It's another 2-year-old conditioned event, and this one's going to be for the fillies. And ones that turned heads in the morning here, and some doing it first time out. Others took a week to kind of show their best stuff, and we're going to get a look at 2 examples of that. No Better Air is one that you want to have a focus on here. Post-4 starter, another daughter of this tremendous looking crop of cattle wash for Scott McEnany, and boy, was she ready to go at first asking.
Was she ever? Yeah, really. And, you know, she should be able to come right back here with another big effort here. So let's take a look at No Better Air. And Trevor Henry, again, doing a great job with this young daughter of cattle washing here. You know, McEnany always, you know, he brings them and they're ready to go right off the bat. And Scott's son won his first training victory here last night. Austin McEnany, congratulations go out to Austin McEnany. Maybe another great McEnany horseman on the verge.
I know when I watched this, Randy, we just caught the tail end of a huge third quarter move to the lead, eye-catching, and I thought she might level off in the final quarter, might get a little tired. Opposite scenario, she's pulling away.
She is, and I mean, look at the body language on Trevor. She could have pulled away even more. So definitely a very eye-catching qualifying run in there. Now let's take a look at A Clean Deal, her next door neighbor in here. Now this is going to be my top pick in here. No Better Air, the one that we just showed you. I'm going to put her in for second. I'm going to go this way. Now, how about this one, Greg? How about this for a scenario? You got, obviously, a nice cattle wash filly here, you know, bought down in Lexington out of a Western Ideal mare. Louis Waugh does a great job qualifying this one for you. Then you get her into race. First lifetime start, so important. And you're thinking to yourself, Louis not going to be here. Who am I going to get stuck with? Well, he gets stuck with a guy named James McDonald. You know you're on a roll when you're coming in a race looking for somebody for your nice 2-year-old Payson filly, and you get J-Mac.
And again, look at this. You know, and that's what Mark McKelvey and I were covering the baby races, and we were joking at the end of each day that, you know, we almost sound like a recording saying, look how impressive this horse is. Look at the body language. Look at the gait. And we were on repeat. And yeah, it's just, it's hard not to be impressed with them when you see them. These are 2-year-olds, right? And that's the evolution of the game. We remember, we're of an ilk where we remember it took a long time for many 2-year-olds to even develop and find their gait, let alone go this kind of speed.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, I can remember breaking horses in, you know, November, and we're still trying to gate them in February on the pace, you know. Kind every heavy shoe, side-weighted shoes, everything to get them, and look at the way they go now. You know, first go easy, Randy. First crop cattle wash. All I can say about this is what has impressed me the most about cattle washes is their gait. They have the big, long, floaty gait to them, which I think is just unbelievable, and I think it's going to serve them big time down the road.
Yeah, he had that himself. He had probably, you know, the physical toolkit that not many horses have, and it looks like he's passing it on to this point in time. All right, let's dive into some Pick 5 ticket ideas here tonight. We're getting close to first race post time. I want to welcome everybody watching in tonight from Woodbine Mohawk Park. Greg Blanchard, Randy Waples, and there's a look at your early Pick 5 play. I like it. I like the approach. I love the all button once in a while, just to throw it in there. And if you time it right, it can pay off. You can. You know, you get that even group, right? You know, looking for maybe that big payoff, you know, or that weak favorite. So race number 1, I'm sticking with this Montcapello Sealstra. I'm going to single her up on top. A lot going to depend on what she does in here. I'm going to use the 2 that we showed in the replays in race 2, Bo Knight and Captain Mika.
In race number 3, I'm going to stick with the going by 2, the one replay that we showed, Venus and Serena, but I'm also going to throw Brett Seelster in there too. Very impressed by that one. Race number 4, back to singles, and that's going to be Style for a Mile. I think that she really is going to start to get some big confidence brewing in this pop-up series final. And in race number 5 is the All Button, and that's the biggest thing is I am going to use Gentrify in here, but for a field of 9, I think you could go anywhere, and we talked about the horse that has the 9-horse, Wicked and Single. You know, I'm not saying that they're going to over-race her, but I could certainly see her jumping up and being able to take this field down.
Now, your late pick 5 ticket, it starts race number 6. It's that Tompkins Gears 2-year-old colt pace division that we talked so much about on the pregame show. You're going to go 2 deep, the 2 that you focused on to try and get that one started.
Yeah, I mean, I really think that I could have maybe brought it down to Dad, Greg, but, you know, the only thing that bothered me a little bit was that, you know, if anything happened with Dad and no wait list got to the front, you know, kind of like he did and ended up going a big mile like that, I mean, I might not be able to pull him back down. So went 2 deep in that one. In race number 7, it's going to be the single of All My Wishes. I think she's going to be a big effort tonight. Race 8 is going to be No Better Air and A Clean Deal. We showed you both the replays on those 2-year-olds, 2-year-old fillies. And race number 9, I'm going 3 deep, Funny Business. Something in Blue is going to be my top pick, and Whole Lot of Rosie. And in race number 10, to close it off, I'm going to go the Western Wish, Tells on a Roll, and Coco Jojo. Now, Coco Jojo, first start Lasix for her. I'm not really sure how that's going to work for her. Tells on a Roll. I think if I had to do it all over again, I might be way too weak on her because she had a shoeing change that came in that I'm not real keen on. She's going to go from steel to flip-flops up in front. I remember talking to Travis Cullen about her one time, and he told me her biggest weakness seems to be that her feet can get bad. And it looks like now he's going to protect those feet on her. So maybe tonight isn't going to be her very best, you know, night.
So for those just joining us this evening, you might be wondering where Doug McNair is tonight. I can tell you he's busy south of the border at New York, racing at Yonkers Raceway tonight. A couple of big guns in for Jared Bako, the last Martini and the last choice, the one that was in the Fast Choice.
Choice.
He raced in the Pepsi NA Cup down there, and then he's going to be busy tomorrow night. Here, scheduled to drive here and the Meadowlands the same night. So that's going to be fun to watch. And speaking of that, we look ahead to tomorrow night. Randy and I are both going to be back with you. And Crackshot, who we're getting a look at here, is going to be one of the headliners on a star-studded Saturday night program.
Yeah, really, really tough bunch of racing tomorrow night there. But, you know, very interesting kind of horse. Now, I can honestly tell you, I did not put him on top, and that is a tough field. But I did use him, no doubt about that, but I did not put him up on top, you know. Interesting. This race could go a lot of different ways. I mean, only a 6-horse field, but my goodness, talk about competitive.
It is, yeah. It's strange to say Crackshot, Pepsi NA Cup finalist, wouldn't be an automatic top selection in here. He didn't race too badly though in the big race. They paced him 48 flat, just caught far back in that one. So he'll try and atone. Boxer Seelster was timed in 48-4 NA Cup night in a 3-year-old Open, so he was much better. And Control Rocks has thrown his hat into the ring as a legitimate gold contender this year. Yeah,
100%. And you know, another one too is this 5-horse Tip of Time. Jody got along really good with him the only time that he drove him. So, you know, I think I might have threw Tip of Time in for second. So to me, this is just a wide open affair.
And that's just one of 2 excellent looking divisions tomorrow night. The big gray horse is back in action, Sterling Choice. A little bit disappointing for the Connections in his NA Cup elimination. He'll look to bounce back.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, it was maybe just a tough ask for him, but boy, oh boy, just a really nice horse. And I'm definitely using him in this race. I can't remember if I put him up on top. I might have put him up on top. Didn't put All-Star Maniac up on top. I think a lot of people will be going that way. He's got to start under his belt. You know, a lot of headlines last year when this guy was a 2-year-old for Gallucci. You know, now he's just come back with the 1 start, but it was a good one. But I don't think I went his way either. I can't remember. I might have went Smiling Dancer, maybe.
And you've got Stonebridge Wizard, the O'Brien Award winner, back. It hasn't hasn't gotten that 2-year-old form. Maybe he hasn't taken that step forward where others have, but probably dangerous to discount him this early in the season.
Well, I discounted him right after the Battle of Waterloo last year because that was one of the toughest.
I think a lot of people did.
Yeah,
Yep.
and within the start. I think the first start he was a little flat, and his next start he's back in the winner's circle.
Yeah, nice colt. Speaking of nice colts, one that really turned heads on NA Cup night. He didn't win, but he was so close, and provided his connections with the thrill of a lifetime was Madden Oaks. And he's back in action here tomorrow night. Really interesting story, Randy. They opted to leave the colt up here. Apparently a bit of sickness going around down in the barn. So they said, let's leave him right in Canada where he seems to enjoy it. And they'll point for the Meadowlands Pace with an overnight race here.
Yeah, very, very interesting. I don't think that they're going to have to go crazy, getting this guy ready for the Meadowlands Space. But to the same effect, I think he can beat this field. I know it's a salty older group of horses. I may be playing my hand a little bit too early, but Madden Oaks is the way that I'm going. I'm putting him right up on top in that field.
So we are excited about that program tomorrow night to really get us into the long weekend here, the holiday weekend, of course, leading us up to Canada Day. But tonight, let's get back to the focus here. We've got an excellent-looking 10-race program, some rookies in the Tompkins gears, and a couple of overnights as well. So that leads us into your plays of the night.
Yeah, okay, so it's going to start off with Macapella Sealster. She's going to be my beat the favorite in here. I do not see her going off as favorite. I'm thinking the 8 horse, the Breather horse, will probably go that. Venus and Serena is going to be my Waples watch. Love the way she raced in her last All In on All My Wishes in race number 7. And then Worth a Look is going to be Kalina Diamond in race number 10.
I like it, like a couple of the ones you've focused on. I'm in agreement on at least a couple of them, including Macapella Sealster, so we will see.
You're a fan of Macapella Sealster as well?
I am,
Good for you. Thank you.
I just think she's it's kind of now or never, though,
right,
I think,
right.
for her to see if she's ready to step back up. Our good friends and colleagues, we've got Ghislain Paquette with the Style for a Mile as his key play in race number 4, 7-2 in the morning line. Kevin Pacha is going long shot shopping with his spot play in Rock Shadows, 8-1 in the morning line, post 9 for that one. And Garnet Barnsdale from the Horse Players Journal, his spot play, Santa Fe's Appetite, over in race 10, looking to kickstart things in that finale at odds of 5-2. So we want to welcome everybody in. We're just moments away from first race post-parade. A beautiful Friday night. Some great racing straight ahead as we welcome you to Woodbine Mohawk Park.